and welcome to me gushing over the wonders of Project Zomboid. This is a game I've had for a while, I don't know, a couple of years now probably. It's been in early access for a while. But even back then I was having a good time in here just because it had the basics of a good survival sim, you know. There's a whole range of those sort of games at the moment, especially with zombies. You can shake a stick around Steam and knock a few off the tree wherever you go. It was a good experience then, but it is a far better experience now. It's a lot more polished. It has a lot more mechanics. They've been incorporating a lot of the better mods from the community and that sort of stuff. And at the moment, I would say it's one of the better, if not best, zombie survival sandboxes you can get. It's got a lot more features than, say, DayZ or Rust or whatever. Not to mention just better gameplay overall, I think. It is a bit getting used to the like top-down isometric, you know, kind of blocky pixel type view, their aesthetic. But once you do, it's just an amazingly immersive game. Not to mention because they've gone that room, it's actually polished and playable, you know, instead of a buggy mess that will never be fixed. Cough, DayZ. At the moment, I've played quite a few games this week, and I don't know, I always end up dying. But weirdly enough, I'm happy to, because it shows just how strong the zombie AI in this game is, and just how much, like, you actually have to be careful of them. It's not a game where you can just run around with the first stick you find and kill all these zombies. You have to be quite careful. The AI around them is obviously a bit different. You know, they've got the vision but also hearing elements, so if you're running around, they're going to know someone's running. And they also have their own vision circles as well. Some zombies seem to range around that too, like some have a really short vision, some a bit longer and that sort of stuff, and some move a lot more differently as well. The other thing is that they have an AI that tends to work, like, see what the other zombies are doing and kind of do it as well, like that's whole pack mentality sort of thing. So when you first start the game, you can probably wander around and there's, like, you know, zombies spotted around the place like a usual zombie theme park, that sort of stuff. But as, like, the days and the weeks kind of progress, you start seeing, like, packs and then hordes of zombies appearing just because they end up together and then end up following each other. Which is really quite scary, turning a corner and seeing 20 zombies staring at you, or coming out of bush into a pack of them as well. That sort of stuff makes you run, and run very fast. The other thing, of course, is, like, noises in the game that you make, or even just ambient noises like helicopter going overhead, people screaming, dogs barking, that sort of stuff, tends to draw them in a certain direction as well. And then you've got your own actions, like if you have to smash a window or chop down some trees or woods or do some carpentry, that sort of stuff, then that's also going to be a large noise you can do. It's the first game that really, really punishes using a firearm. Like, yes, you're going to be able to kill zombies with them, but sometimes not as efficiently, because obviously when you start out shooting, you're not going to be able to get headshots every time, so you might knock them over, but take a few bullets to kill them. But then guns are a very noisy weapon. That noise travels a long way. You're going to draw in zombies more and more and more towards you when you're shooting. I think just to test it after I got infected, I was walking around with a pistol and firing at random zombies, and ended up having, I would say, at least 40, 50 zombies following after me. And of course I run out of bullets, and that's going to be it. You're going to be eaten alive. Like, I like that element. You know, you don't want guns to be this be-all and end-all weapon. That doesn't make sense. It's too noisy. You want those melee weapons, because they're so much more fun to use to bash a head in. And there's a range in them too. You know, you can just pick up a kitchen knife, a butter knife, and start stabbing away at zombies, or even a spoon if you really feel like it, but that's probably not a good idea. Then there's, you know, saucepans and pots you can use, and then you've got, you know, baseball bats and golf clubs, and moving your way up to fire axes and stuff like that. So there's a whole range to actually take care of them, considering on, you know, what you find, how you like fighting zombies, really. But personally, it's the perfect measure, because, like, avoidance is your best bet. You know, it's not go here and kill as many zombies as you can to get to your next supplies. It's look out the bush, look around you, where are the zombies, what's their pathing, what are they interested in, how many are there. You're making all these analyses of like your situations based on the zombies and where you're going. And that's how it's supposed to be. It adds that tension, it adds that feeling and like to your explorations, you know, the danger, the risk to like actually going out and exploring, because these zombies are dangerous. Now, of course, they do kind of shamble around, and you can knock them back quite easily. They're just zombies like that. But it does take a little bit of effort to actually get them down sometimes, depending on your weapon. Like, you have to like kind of charge your weapon enough, and also swing it at the right time so you off balance them, and then obviously smash their head in. There's also a whole range of options depending on how you want to play as well to, up the difficulty of the zombies if you want, fast runners or ones that don't degenerate over time, or, just more dangerous zombies. Or you can even go the opposite way and have zombies that are basically inane objects if that's what you want. Like, there's a range of options in the UI to actually build your world and build your experience in that regards. So that's a great element to have too. Now, getting on to the gameplay, like, it's your basic survival sim, but just with a whole range of options and the detail they've gone into to actually flesh out their world with, the buildings and the design and even the components within them. Like, you'll find that what you actually find where you are makes a lot of common world sense. You're going to find all your food items and pots and pans and all that sort of stuff in the kitchen, books on the shelves, lots of clothes in the closets, and then if you're going into the sheds and warehouses, you're going to find a lot more, hammers and tools and nails and those sort of things, and paint to draw markers. So you can kind of be, aiming towards what you need with what building you're going to be exploring and where you're going to be exploring it. But this is a terrifying element as well, because you open like doors and then a zombie comes out at you and that music plays in the background. There's that brief moment of terror that hits you, and then you knuckle down and try and take it out before it gets you. And I don't know how many times it's happened, but just going so well in a game, getting my axe, getting all the saws and woods and all that sort of stuff, and starting to make my base. And I've taken out the zombie easy, but of course it's bitten you or scratched you somewhere, and then you'll find yourself devolve in that state of, being a zombie. That sort of stuff is mortifying. You know it's happened, but the game gives you that little bit of time afterwards to know you're going to die, and obviously plan your exit. The other thing you have to deal with yourself is, should have said this before, your moods and that sort of stuff. There's quite a few mechanics around the personality of your character and what they're experiencing, what they're feeling. So, obviously they're going to get bored and unhappy in certain instances, or just stressed and anxious if they're, going in too many of those environments, which has a few effects on, your stats and how well you can fight or run or those sort of things as well. So you kind of have to be aware of those things. And then, of course, there's, sickness states. You can get a flu, you can get a fever, you can get hurt in different regards. You can break a leg, you can do all those sorts of things in your character, and they all have an impact on how you play. But there's a lot of different mechanics in how you deal. Like, you can find antibiotics to deal with that flu. You can create a splint for your leg to help it heal. So it's not a death sentence in those regards, but it's just a really complex mechanic to add in there to, make the experience more in-depth, more immersive. The other elements of gameplay is, you've got the whole cooking elements. You're going to find a lot of food, and when you begin, it's a lot of trial and error to how you put it together. But once you realize those mechanics of adding objects and adding, food items to different, say, a pot or a saucepan or a baking tray, those are things, you're going to be able to create a whole range of different foods depending on what you got, which is a nice touch as well. Of course, you can eat things raw, but you'll also find that certain elements like meats and eggs will need to be cooked first, otherwise you can also get sick from them. So yeah, there's a whole heap of mechanics in the cooking that keeps you interested too. There's a whole degradation mechanic as well. If food's left out for too long, you know, out of a fridge, out of that sort of stuff, then it's going to spoil a lot quicker. There's a whole weather mechanics around that as well. Like, you know, it's going to spoil quicker in the heat, obviously, and less in the winter. And then you've also got the elements of, say, power and water in your city that are eventually going to finish. So the refrigerators aren't going to get powered when the electricity goes out, so you're going to have to find alternative means of getting fresh food. And obviously water, you're going to need a lot of water too, and when that runs out, you're not going to be able to cook a lot of dishes with it, and obviously you're not going to be able to drink very easily unless you have a few tools and that sort of stuff. And that, of course, brings me to, say, I'll start with farming first. There's a whole range of farming there. So you can get at seeds for different veggies and fruits, which you obviously plant and water and grow and that sort of thing. So that's how you kind of survive long term for your food. There's a few risks with obviously farming, you know, bugs and insecticides and that sort of stuff that you need to use to keep your plants healthy. And then also there's a whole trapping mechanic as well, so you can catch birds and small animals and that sort of stuff for your meat sources later on. The other element to, say, surviving long term is your carpentry. So one element you're always going to need in those long term situations is your rain barrels to collect, you know, water over the long term, use it as you go. But with the carpentry, you can also build quite amazing structures to keep you safe and keep your, you know, crops safe, you safe. Build out and build your fortress, that sort of stuff. You can make walls and doors and windows and little units to store things and overhead stairs. All those elements you can make, and you can really do some quite great things with that sort of stuff. I've been on the basics of this. I haven't done too much just because I always seem to die before I get all my things I need. And that's a great element as well. It lets you keep going after the short-term survival, after the short-term scavenging, to build into the long term, to build your structures. And that's rather exciting too. The other elements for, say, survival, more mechanics, is like fishing and foraging. There's fishing, and you can make your fishing rods and also find worms and all that sort of stuff to catch stuff. And then there's foraging. If you're going out in the woods, you can find, you know, nuts and berries and twigs and sticks that you can use for a lot of things as well. So there's a whole range of mechanics there for survival that don't just include scavenging, which is really nice. To deal with all these different skills, your character does grow over time. You know, you've got different skill levels that you can build through, and then obviously you're going to get better with what you do when you do it a lot more. You know, if you're cooking a lot, your cooking skills are going to get up, and you're going to be able to make better foods that fulfill you longer and are healthier for you. If you do a lot more carpentry, that skill is going to build up, and you're going to, you know, be able to build quicker, maybe use less materials, repair a lot easier as well. And then obviously fishing, catch more fish, trapping, catch better things and build better things. And a whole range of other skills too, like you can improve your skills with your weapons, or you can improve your skills with your running or crouching, or just those sort of elements too. It's funny, but I don't know why, I just enjoy this experience so much. I do like survival games. I've always liked survival games, to get out there and explore and just build as I go. And there's a whole, it's just a dynamic experience I really enjoy, because each experience is usually different in these survival games. But it's just games like Project Zomboid that give it that little bit extra more, give it that extra depth, give it that extra detail that brings it into experience that you could constantly play and never get bored with. Well, maybe a few months down the track. You know, it takes you a while to get used to these mechanics. It takes you, you know, a little while to get better at obviously killing things, knowing the systems, knowing where to go in the maps. Just that whole to understand the whole risk-reward elements. Should I or shouldn't I go here? Or should I avoid this person or not? You know, what to do in those instances. And then, of course, there's just luck, you know, like sometimes you're just going to get hurt, or get bitten, or just get surrounded, or sometimes get deserted because you can't get back to your base for food or water or those sort of things, and you just die from it. And obviously you start again and learn from your mistakes, but it is those mistakes that keep you growing and keep you learning. And now, if you do want more, there is a whole multiplayer scene around it at the moment. It's quite a, well, not exactly new now, new implementation of it, but yeah, there's a few public run servers, and you can get your own up and running as well for, I think it's support for, I'm not sure how many actually. There's some big servers out there, but that's a great element as well, you know, scavenging and surviving together as a group, or even competing with each other for those elements. And it's just good in this regards because the map is so big. Not, say, Daisy big, I guess, but still big in that regards, that you have a lot of room to explore. There's a lot of materials there and a lot of ingredients. But there's also, you know, the elements that you don't need to scavenge, like farming and crafting and foraging and those sort of elements that make it not so dependent on all those server restarts and wipes. If you can keep playing and keep growing without the world repopulating. So I think that's a more immersive element, you know, it makes it more of a world, makes it more of a long-term gameplay plan. There is a great modding community as well behind the game who create, you know, different map elements that you can implement. They're working on a few community maps that are going to be implemented as well. There's, you know, better skill mods so you can move things around easier, or, you know, weapon mods or different ways to craft. So if you had a couple of games and you love it, I'd definitely check out the modding scene as well. Overall, it's just one of the more atmospheric and deep zombie games out there. Walking around and hearing those noises, hearing those creaks, hearing that soft thud at the door when you've gone into a house and you know a zombie's in there. But you're looking for supplies, you have to go in there, and then you open it and out pops 3 zombies and you shit yourself and you're trying to scramble around the house, run out the door, or just when you're out exploring and you're going along a fence line, being careful, turn a corner and there's a whole horde waiting for you right there and you have to sprint away, and of course you're sprinting and drawing more zombies to you with the noise. It's those experiences that keep you so interested in game and interested in playing. It's just utterly enthralling in the way it does provide the experience. It's the full package, you know. A lot of these zombie survival games give you the base experience, give you the foundation, and the illusion that they're going to maybe create more and implement more. Project Zomboid is it, you know. They've got it all right now. They've got all the mechanics you need for this sort of stuff. They've got the world design done. They've got the world populated well. You know, they've got the zombie design well. They've got the UI options that allow you to create your own game that you want to play, and just the way to make your character with its personality and its traits. All those elements add up to a game that, you know, has everything you would want from a zombie survival theme park. So, yeah, I think that's enough rambling for now. Go check it out.